My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast and it's Junior Masterchef.
There's a kid in there.
Also,
and another. Oh, okay.
The national broadcaster needs money, Kristie. Don't.
The funding is very, very short.
Don't.
These days.
Welcome to a fun little series of the Washing Up Podcast, and we're doing something a bit unusual.
Yes.
We're keeping it PG.
I know. There'll be no effing.
I will kick Kristie every time she goes to swear.
Yeah, there's no swears in this podcast.
No swears. And to help us along with the no swears,
yes.
We've decided that we're also going to have guests.
She's our swear monitor.
Yes, we're going to have guests on, and we're going to start from the Neighbours podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Vaya, how you going?
Hello. Yes, we should, instead of swearing, we should put like food items like fudge and sugar and stuff.
Yes.
We really should. But it's going to be a bit more...
Pumpernickel.
It's going to be more outlandish given these kids.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we have the delightful Philo who, has lobster 3 times a week. So we just need to start from that benchmark and work our way up.
Let's start, shall we, with Philo's declaration on night 1 of lobster. Do you do lobster a lot? We have lobster about 3 times a week.
You just can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with lobster.
I mean, it's Taco Tuesdays, Lobster Wednesdays, Spaghetti Bolognese Thursdays,
Lobster Fridays.
And there's a toss-up between Lobster Saturday or Lobster Sunday.
I feel fancy when I go to the food court sushi and you can get lobster in a sushi roll. I'm feeling a little bit, la-di-da. And that's about as far as it goes.
Well, that was like, I think it was last night where they said, Philo, you look really happy. And Kristie next to me goes, he has lobster 3 times a week. Of course he's happy.
Was he the one helping himself to the olives too?
Yes. Tonight he was a mood.
Yeah, living his best life wherever he goes.
Yeah, and the look, like just when he pulls out an extra bit of like olive just to pop in his mouth.
Philo has learnt from these judges.
Yeah.
Because as we know, the judges have, over the course of, the last 12 months, every time they've appeared on camera, they're snacking.
Look, my bet is when we're in like our dotage and watching Masterchef, like, season 32, Philo is going to be one of the judges. Like,
Philo's snacking, I feel, is something that not a lot of contestants have genuinely taken advantage of in this challenge.
No.
And he was galaxy braining.
And we get because we're seeing it through the lens of kids, and of course that's what they're thinking. And we'll get to tiny genius Ben.
Oh yeah,
let's just get to Ben right now.
Let's talk about the Cub Scout moment. We'll talk a lot about Ben in this episode. But
yeah, of course.
As you were saying before, his Cub Scout genius moment of tonight. Describe it for anyone who might have missed it, because what a move!
So, and I'm sure we'll talk about the immunity gong.
We will.
But he said, "Well, don't hit the gong at the start of the round. Run into the pantry, help yourself to the chockies, then hit the gong."
Yeah, he's like, I help myself to all the food I want to eat. I just eat in the pantry for a bit, then I run out and hit the gong. Yes. Genius.
Yes. I mean, I'm looking at this bunch of kids, and this is not an ordinary bunch of kids. You can tell they're probably at gifted level, to be quite honest.
Very much so.
And I know you would have worked with gifted kids being a teacher, and like I worked at a gifted education research place in the early 2000s, and there's just a certain sense of maturity, but it's delightful childishness that comes through with their thinking, and you're like, why didn't I think of that? You're a genius with whimsy. This is what we need in the Masterchef kitchen.
And they're so calm. Well, how do I achieve that level of chill?
I can't work out how, like,
lobster 3 times a week.
It must be the secret, but or good bow apparently. But it's just the way that. Yeah, you're right. None of them have panicked.
No.
Things have gone wrong, and rather than panic, they've just gone, okay, we'll just do this now. And like, one of the things that hasn't changed between the normal version of MasterChef and this is annoying yelling from the gantry. And
no, there are additional puns.
There are additional puns. Boy, they're working on the puns. But it was when, for example, tonight Portia's trying to balance up the nachos, and they're yelling off the gantry, "Don't forget to balance up your sweet and your savoury." And you're like, oh, it hasn't gone away.
Okay, how do they know about balancing? What's balancing? How do they know? I don't understand.
Generation that has basically been raised on MasterChef. Like, if you think about...
So we've talked about this with, like, some of the young contestants in normal MasterChef. Like, they've grown up watching this show.
But these are kids who know life don't know life
without MasterChef.
It's like, I don't know how old you are, Vaya, but like growing up, my peak chef knowledge was Peter Russell Clark. You know?
Oh, of course, yeah. So, yeah, I'm sure I'm your contemporary.
Yeah, and it's very Peter Russell Clark.
Whereas, and you know, we might learn a bit about cheese.
Lots of cheese,
where it is.
Have a sponsorship deal, and you'll learn a lot about cheese. Yeah. Ben won't learn a lot about cheese. We'll come back to that in a moment.
But these kids, they've been raised on panna cottas and like granitas and dough molds.
I don't know if you guys growing up I had kids cookbooks that we got out of book club or whatever. Like there was a kids writer, Paul Salmon, who had a lot of monsters, and there was like a monster kids cookbook, and you'd make like ice cream spiders and stuff like that. That's about as adventurous as it got.
Yeah, I used to get, after Mum made the cakes, and we've talked about this many times, the infamous Women's Weekly cake book. I used to get stuck into that a bit and look at that and go, oh, I could make that. Oh, I could make that. And that was sort of, I got into those a bit.
Mine was more like, my mum can make that for me.
Not like Georgia going down to the library like Matilda and getting the adult cookbooks.
Yeah, it's like, and like, where did you learn to? Oh, I watched YouTube and I learned to make this roux of YouTube. What? What? It's amazing to watch these kids just absorb.
But also have the resources there to be able to tap into and knowing what to look for. Like, majority of kids, what are they watching on YouTube? Unboxing videos and stuff. These kids, they're into like, I'm sure they're, watching a lot of the, I can't think. I keep going back to Martin Yan. See, I'm just old. I'm just an old woman talking about young people sleep.
Look, I know that the young people watch something called Bon Appetit, but I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah, no, Bon Appetit's okay. It's no Epicurious.
Okay.
Where it's at, folks.
Yeah, or Babish. I'm sure they're watching.
Yeah, binging with Babish or Epicurious, and just live off that.
YouTube on Babbage, like Charles Babbage.
I have a question though, and this is for the main show, the big show, as well as the little show. How do they do this without recipes? Or do they have recipes on the sly? Or is this just pure?
Okay, so how much of the magic do I want to reveal?
Oh, tell me everything. But then I'll be sad afterwards.
From my perspective, like looking at the honey challenge, for example, I think that might have been shot on 2 days, like the mystery box. And I think that's fair because these are children. They're not adults who can just, I expected to pull things out on the spot.
Yeah, and again, it's been a very get this week for some reason. When they did the honey challenge, all I can think of was Ed Cavallini's box of killer bees. But it's, so a lot of the time they sort of give a little bit of a sort of, these are the things, when they've got a free choice to cook, they give a bit of these are the sorts of things I'd like to see in the pantry. But the pantry's usually generally well stocked anyway. So recipe wise, they don't usually have recipes in front of them. But before they go on, there's a lot of you should be familiar with the following cuisines.
Okay. And so, for example, if one of them says, I want to make Hungarian dumplings, please have that tool there so I can...
Well, yeah, what would happen in the pre area as well as they'd sort of say, what are your food influences? And they'd sort of go, well, I like Hungarian stuff. Okay, so we should probably prepare for some Hungarian stuff. You might pull that out at some point.
Like they obviously had to ship in a truckload of lobsters for...
Yeah, well, obviously they've had to keep the lobster supply going for philo.
The production manager's like, oh, God.
Now,
there are more children than philo on the show.
There are. We're going to talk about them. But you were the one who brought him up, by the way.
I know. I just dived in. No.
But isn't it glorious that we could just be talking about Ben and we're not? There's other kids that are just as worthy of our attention.
We're not. Absolutely. And although just to add in, and I mentioned this a bit earlier tonight, actually, is there a producer on Earth who is happier seeing someone appear on set than the producer of Junior MasterChef when Ben walked on?
No.
I think they're just delirious.
It was their best day at work.
Mine.
There's a reason why they keep putting him in front of the camera and the microphone.
Yeah.
Because he'll do whatever they want. He'll just go. And it's delightful. He's very outgoing.
And he's got his own prop. Like he comes with a trumpet.
I'm waiting for more trumpet. I mean,
It's
like,
not enough trumpet.
what I actually wanted to happen was when they walked over to the gong the first time, I wanted him to pull out the trumpet, and then I wanted to see some percussion going with the trumpet.
Yes.
And like, we could have a full kitchen orchestra going by the end of this.
And don't forget, right, they could actually perform a ballet, because if you recall, was it 1 or 2 nights ago where there was just like this kind of little ballet break with Phenix, and who was next to her?
I know Portia's been doing
dances.
Yeah.
Portia. Yeah, just like little, are they like little jeté twirls or something like that? Someone will go, oh, Kristie, they're not called that. They're called something else. You know what I mean? Like whatever the French word is.
It's been,
yeah.
It's been missed. We didn't see lots of, ballet in the main MasterChef.
No, they were into mime, if you remember.
Yeah, they were more into mime instead. You're right. It was, look, I think a lot of people went into this series, I think, worried about a junior.
That was going to be saccharine.
And
cynical.
Yeah.
I was cynical artichoke holes.
Yes. Well done. Well done.
This is why we've brought you on.
Look, I think some of the fear behind that comes into things like when they've done junior singing competitions and stuff like that, which do get very annoying. But I kind of feel like MasterChef and like the food shows in particular, because they're not treating, this is what I think is really interesting, they're not treating them like
There's
kids.
no patronising.
There's no patronising.
They could walk straight onto the big show tomorrow, and they would be competing on the same level.
Lie, there are lots of kids on this show who would have sent some of the All Stars packing.
Yeah,
very fast.
Who made the lemon tart that was better than Reese's lemon tart?
Well, that was Vienna, who's my favourite. Is that child, like, I don't get.
She's an adult.
I don't get emotional, but. Vienna on night 1, when they went through her story and they went through, all the stuff she's been through. And
was
then
it lymphoma?
Yeah. And then she's so eloquently talking about the struggle that her family's been on, the way that food has helped her, then her thoughts about food in general, and the way that she just processes. And she is such a remarkable young woman.
She's the one that wants to do the restaurant. Like, she's already planning her restaurant, isn't she?
No, that's Laura with the 5-seat restaurant.
Oh, Laura, sorry.
5 chairs.
Genius.
Although she's changed her career options now because Jacques talked her into the idea of food eating. Food eating. It was just about eating food for a living.
He ate a whole chicken and all their dishes.
And Laura has never looked more enviously at anybody in her life.
Yes, my apologies. It's my scramble brain. Yes. Okay, now I know. I've got Laura, Vienna in my head.
But Vienna is like that lemon tart. Again, and there were lots of people going, Reese, about your lemon tart. and look, if you remember on the big show, Reese talked that lemon tart up, and then the judges had it and went, it's okay. Like, it's not as good as you said it was. And then Vienna's one looked amazing.
You know what's going to happen next year? Is like the real MasterChef, like not real, I'm going to say the adult MasterChef people are going to come on. Someone will show up, serve a lemon tart, and the judges just go, yeah, I know a 12-year-old that can make a better lemon tart than that.
Yeah. Not a patch on Vienna's.
She's 12 or 13?
13, I think.
Yeah.
But imagine, though, when they get to the next, adult MasterChef, and imagine those people being compared to some of these kids.
They should thank their lucky stars.
They should. Yeah. Because the way that, again, as we said, I'm referring to them as kids because they are, but they're young adults. Like, and the way they think and the way they talk and the way they process, these are young adults working here.
It's like whenever you heard Hollywood interviews of people who would work with like Dakota Fanning, and they're like, oh, it's just like working with an adult. It's the same vibe.
I mean, and everyone who's been watching Junior MasterChef have been questioning, their life choices and what they were doing at the same age. Like, I think 13, I had a lot of Edward Furlong posters on my wall, and was possibly writing very crappy poetry. And here are these kids just whipping out amazingly awesome dishes, but also knowing the information that goes along with that and the theory that goes along.
We had a comment last night, which you would never have heard on any food TV, let alone children's food television, which was when, I think it was Ben, who went, I really need some finger limes.
Oh.
When have you heard a child ever in history say, I really need some finger limes?
I don't even know what cardamom is. And let alone what it goes with.
Yes. And the whole thought process of I'll do finger limes and normal lime, you know, like just double up on that lime flavour.
And it was again, Ben last night when he suddenly went, I'm just going to whip up some bread, some pita.
Some pita. There's just not enough going on.
Why? Like, why not? I've got time. I'm going to whip up some pita bread.
And someone jumped on the Davidson plum train.
Oh yeah,
on the marshmallows. No, that was him too.
It was the Davidson. Yeah, it was the Davidson plum marshmallow.
For his small.
And isn't it good to see that the Davidson plum suppliers still get work? Like they were terrified when MasterChef ended, and then COVID hit. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen to Davidson plum production? The answer is Junior MasterChef is there to pick up the slack.
Going back to first night, someone who, first of all, I looked at her and I've gone, you are just vibing out here. Dawn from the new Babysitters Club. That's Tiffany. And then she makes a paleo bar. I'm like, holy moly. Guacamole.
Guacamole. Doing well.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
You go, Vaya.
Well, Kristie, yes. As soon as you said Dawn from the new Babysitters Club, she spoke to me, and then I was a Tiffany fan immediately after that.
Now I want to see the MasterChef Sitters Club, like just go to your friends, MasterChef Sitters Club, and just have like Phenix and Ruby and
Phenix is Claudia.
Yes, and she's got a cool vibe going on. Yeah, just like all of them just together. Just hanging.
Tiffany, I don't know what order we're going to talk about anything in.
We're not. There's no order.
When Tiffany's panna cotta didn't come together, because it was the poor girl's first time using that blasted blast chiller, and she dealt with it, and she made a joke out of it. Like, it's deconstructed. Like, this, like, I cry at adult workplaces about less important things.
I just also want to point out there are a couple of, and look, the audience by and large has been fantastic, but there are a couple of adults going, I don't really know how to use this. It's a blast chiller. Blast chillers are not that bloody easy. Like, bloody is as far as we're going swearing-wise. Blast chillers are not that easy, right? It's not as simple as you put it in the blast chiller and it quickly sets. There is different timings depending on the different consistencies of what you put in there. Mm-hmm. So they're not that straightforward to use. So stop criticizing, a 12, 13-year-old for not using a blast chiller properly. So
she gave it a crack. She learned a new skill.
And also, I love the fact that she even acted out the consistency she was hoping for.
Her and Melissa. Made amazing gifts.
Her and Melissa together conducted their own little panna cotta off.
That was the interpretive section.
It was the interpretive dance section of the club.
And I've got to shout out to the MasterChef socials person, because they turned that moment into a GIF pretty quick.
Speed of GIFs in this series have been so far bang on the money.
Yeah, I've got to go back and see if there's that GIF of Philo's face tonight as he's like,
Oh, there was.
Sneaky.
Oh, there was.
Oh, good.
Phenix also, I think, had one of my favourite lines so far when the other night she didn't refer to something as the hero of the dish. She called it diva.
Yes.
I just got goosebumps.
I know.
Remembering that.
That's amazing. Like, it needs to be the diva. And I'm like, thank you.
The vocab is there. And then you go and see her family, and geez, like, her dad's a bit of all right, to be quite frank. Like, he's a bit of a dilf. And, like, her mum's a bit bland too. And I'm like, you guys are just beautiful. Like, just your whole family.
How was that opening shot of them with their parents standing in the courtyard, in the garden, and, like, they're about to walk into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory? With their hope in their, and their wonder in their eyes.
I mean, Jock missed the opportunity to walk out with a cane really early and then do a barrel roll down the carpet and invite them into his world of wonder.
Do you think it would be Andy doing that though?
No. Andy can't get away with a cane. Jock can.
And Jock's got the fabulous outfit like Willy Wonka.
Yeah, Jock has the waistcoat, the works going on.
Yes.
So he could do the whole get the cane stuck in the ground and then the barrel roll out.
Andy would just come along.
What do you get when you don't like cake?
You get trolled by Melissa about not liking cake is the answer to that. I love that everyone was waiting on Twitter when the carrot cake got made the other day for Andy to go, I don't like cake. So much so that Melissa Leong just got there before everyone else. Yeah. And now he's about to tell you he doesn't like cake.
And he got massively trolled by, was it Carter that did the carrot cake?
Yes.
Because it was the most delightful slab of carrot cake. Like, it was the most heavenly slab of cake I've ever seen in my life.
Like, that cake is something like when you go to a, you're going to for like a weekend trip away, and you're going to a fancy cafe in a fancy part of the fancy place you've gone for a fancy weekend away. And that's the kind of cake you're expecting to have with your beautiful afternoon, like tea, like even a high tea. And
rustic, or even like a B&B in the country.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And here's this kid who, is on the lower end of his like teenage years, just busting this out and talking about how he's getting the flavors going and how he's just going to whip up some apricots to pop on top. And I'm not doing the normal cream cheese topping. I'm just going to do some cream because it's going to be better. And it's like, mine was a White Wings packet mix with the Disney tops. Do you remember?
Edible Disney tops, yes.
I remember when they came out. Like, I remember a time before them and then a time after them.
Pre-Disney and post-Disney top.
Yeah.
It's been like just watching these kids just randomly go, I need to balance this up, so I'm just going to do X. Yep. Like, for example, Portia tonight with the dessert nachos. Now, obviously, she ended up going home, which was unfortunate. I'm really disappointed. But here's the thing with dessert nachos. First of all, on Adult Masterchef, you get to an elimination challenge. And one of the big complaints last year was everyone plays it ultra safe.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone does something that they know off by heart, and they just make this thing. Portia in an elimination goes, you know what? I really want to try dessert nachos.
Amazing.
So I'm just going to try dessert nachos, and we're going to see what happens here. And takes the berries.
Mm-hmm.
And they went, where's the technique? And I'm like, did you see what she did to the berries?
Yeah, she macerated them.
Macerated. They're all the macerated berries with the jalapeno and the balancing of the jalapeno with the berry.
Made her own tortillas. Hayden
didn't do that, yeah. Twitter erupted at that one, going, no, Hayden would have used a packet. But, there was so much technique in what she did. I think she was the victim of there has to be three.
Well, why? That was a bloodbath.
So they
might as well have turfed out a litter of kittens. Three is a lot of kids.
Twitter wasn't prepared for one to go home.
No.
It became apparent that it was more than one. And again, a lot of people have pointed out they send multiples home, and that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough.
But 2 is okay. Losing 3 at a time.
Yeah.
3 out of 6. Those were odds I was not okay with.
No, that's a 1 out of 2. It's a high chance. It's
now we need to
50-50 if
you're
going home or not.
It was under that originally until. So we need to talk about immunity. So the gong. First of all, bring the gong into normal MasterChef.
Yes.
People will not be upset with a gong rather than a pin.
Yeah.
It's so much more showbiz to whack a big gong than it is to pop a little pin on your lapel.
Red Simons comes out and gong. You could have them sing, get it on, bang a gong, and then bang and hit it. There could be a full production number with it. There's so many opportunities. First of all, it's fine. But second of all, Laura, showing more maturity and intelligence than several contestants we've seen in recent times.
You're not talking about Loki.
And
who was it last year?
So, I don't remember. But
Danny
and Loki. Learning that when you have an immunity in MasterChef, use it. And she didn't mess around. She just walked over to the gong and they went, oh, you're going to, she goes, if I've got this, I'm not going to not use it. Bang.
And again,
she doesn't have the hubris of adults. She just went, I'm going to be humble here and I'm going to take this.
But this is one of the elements that I'm loving about this, is you can see that there's a lot of care and attention to the welfare of the contestants on the show. Because that gong, sorry, we just got cat fights going on.
Don't worry about it.
Is that, that gong could apparently be used anytime during the cook. So if Laura started and she's like, nah, this is a disaster, I'm out of here, she could bang it. If before the cook she's like, you know what, I don't need this anxiety, I don't need this negativity in my life, I'm just going to bang a gong. Off you go, you do it. But I think the kids really need to learn their lesson from our friend, the trumpet boy, Ben, and just remember to grab a snack, take his and Philo's approach to MasterChef.
And it had such a level of excitement because with the immunity pin, it's like, oh, well, use it at the start and that's it. But the gong could go at any minute.
Yes.
It's brilliant.
And particularly if you have, say, like 3 people in an elimination challenge, they've all got a gong to go, right? It could be fun. Like, is it who gongs last?
I would do that. I would do that where it's the last person to gong.
Yeah.
Secondly, the other thing I would do
and then you see the producers hiding the gong in the garden somewhere.
The gong moves.
Yeah.
The gong moves. Every 5 minutes, the gong will be in a different location in the kitchen, so you got to move to a different to get it. But what I also like the idea of is, those follow-along challenges?
Yeah.
Use the gong in the middle of one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, with like 11 different steps.
So they're up to like step 6. You run over and hit the gong, and everyone is so distracted by the gong going off, and the chef just keeps going. So it becomes.
So you're sabotaging them too.
We're getting a little bit into What's Kitchen on the Food Network at the moment, and I don't want to get that far into Alton Brown going. Now you must wear a sink around your neck.
Well, can I bring it back to like the beginning? Because as a narrative purist, I want to know if you guys. Well, firstly, I switched on to 10 Play tonight and to watch back a bit of the first episode, and there were 2 other seasons of Junior MasterChef. I knew there was 1, but I had no idea there were 2. Did you guys know there were 2 seasons?
I knew there were 2. I didn't watch them.
I think the main reason why I didn't watch them, and we'll just touch on this quickly, is because I had no interest in seeing those 3 previous judges, interact with children.
Oh,
yep.
Great call.
I feel that having these ones interact with the children was going to be far more authentic. And I just felt, and we talked about it a little bit before, but Andy, we said, was always going to be good with kids. And like, Jock's been actually quite good as the sort of the older lovable uncle. And it's good to see him be a bit more playful. Melissa is just a delight, period. And knowledgeable and doesn't talk down to them, talks to them, as, peers. And your food knowledge is amazing. This is what I would say to you as well. Like tonight when they yelled out, she goes, "Are we excited?" And someone went, "Yes, chef." And she goes, "No, just Melissa. I'm not a chef. I'm a critic."
Yeah.
I love seeing the stars in their eyes that those kids get going, "Oh, I can't believe it's the judges." And it just, it's precious.
Like Portia walking out from judging tonight, and it wasn't like, "Oh, I hope they like my dish." It was, "I tried not to fangirl."
Yeah, I think that the thing that makes this season of Junior MasterChef different from the previous ones is the judges. And it's you don't warmth and a certain former Greek restaurateur are not phrases that go together.
And you know what they've done? So I watched the first one, and the kids were really precocious, and it was too saccharine. And in this one, they've balanced the flavors.
It is fun
because they've got the saccharine. Yeah. I thought I was being really clever with that reference, but anyway.
You were brilliant. You were a Laura.
Yeah, great. And it's sweet, but it's still sassy. And also, I feel like it needs to be said, I'm in Victoria, and I've been in lockdown, and I've got a newborn, so I've been in lockdown since March, and life's pretty bleak here. And if ever I needed this beam of light of innocent children, like making, balancing their flavors and making gourmet dishes, like experts, it's right now.
And that's
they're aglow with warmth.
And that seems to be one of the big themes as well with this, is that a lot of people on Twitter, their feedback on it has simply been, you know what, don't care about all these people talking about, oh, but it's a junior or this or this or this. This is lovely.
Yep.
I need this.
I noticed little, and I don't know if it's just a trend in shows now, but for me, there's been a bit of, like, there's care for the kids, obviously, but little things I noticed that come from things like the Great British Bake Off and Great Australian Bake Off, which are all about positivity and, everything from like a close-up of a bee on a flower, which is what you get in Bake Off, to, trying to bring out the best in people. So with the honey challenge, for example, there's Georgia, and she's like, I don't like honey, but the whole culture there is positive, that she just goes ahead and, sorry, our cat's boiling.
No. Sorry. So,
and she makes this amazing honey-based trifle that she then goes on to win immunity with.
Can we take a little minute for Georgia?
yes, we can, because I think I know where you're going with this.
Well, just that she's pure joy. She's like a storybook illustration come to life. And like with her little kerchief in her hair and the little apron that didn't fit her and emanating wonder and joy. I can't even believe her.
By the way, is spectacular.
Yes, I like the little
The apron choice is spectacular.
Yeah, the little chambray.
Yeah, and the other part about that was, again, like it was the bit last time where I was like, oh no, I forgot to toast the nut. Come over here. I've got a pan. I'll watch them on you. Thank you for that. You're letting me toast the nuts.
Ruby, that Ruby. Moment, which was the bookend of the beautiful scene with Jess and Sarah. Was it Jess and Sarah in the Big Show?
Yes.
Giving her the recipe when Sarah was falling behind and Jess goes, I wrote it down. I remember. Yeah. It was the moment where Georgia ran out of time to roast her pistachios and Ruby have a pan and Ruby hands over her pan. It's like, I'll roast your pistachios. Like, not a dry eye in our house.
It's like, I'll stand here and watch them. It's okay. She goes, no, I'll help you with that. It's like, and then she's like, and when they cut back to her for her bit, she goes, I'm really happy my friend decided to help me out and I hope she does really well too. And I'm just like,
no. Like for me, this is like remember like Amelia and Laura at the end of Masterchef Back to Win. And it's just like friend v friend. Yes. And now we have like that kind of continuation of that uplifting purity that we need. And, we don't live in Melbourne and we could not imagine what it would be like at the moment when you've done all the hard yards to keep the rest of Australia safe. That anything that's positive to pop through your door has got to be a big blessing.
And also that some of these kids have probably had a really rotten few months as well, and they're still going, oh well, I get to be on TV and I get to cook with, like, when there's one point where Portia's apologising to the bee. No, it was Phenix apologising to the bees for taking their honey and went, oh well, I get to be on TV. They're seeing positives when, like, we had playgrounds down here closed for months and there was nothing more bleak than walking down the street and seeing, caution tape around a slippery dip. And then you've got these kids going, oh, well, I can't go to school with my friends, but I can whip up a, meat and 3 veg.
I'm just going to sit here and cook this instead. And I'm just going to whip up a gourmet meal instead. That's all I'm
now
going to do.
Thinking the school closures would have happened at a good time for these kids because they could have boned up for MasterChef. Just before going on. It's like, yes, the plague has helped us.
So my big disappointment. So, I mean, obviously, poor Ryan, comes in, with a bit of, not baggage, it's not in a negative way, but with, a father who's won MasterChef.
That's a lot.
That's a lot to carry. I kind of, look, you don't want anyone to go home, and I want him to do really well. But in some ways, it's actually probably better for him that it went before, social media turns really nasty and starts doing the whole.
I'm really hoping social media doesn't turn
I don't think it will, but I also worry about it. Yeah. And I think if he'd gone far, it would have been, the kid, his father won, blah, 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 blah. By the way, his food looked really damn good.
Yeah.
And he looks like he can really seriously cook.
And he had a great attitude. I mean, they all did, but he was a little bright spark as well.
Right into the golden syrup.
He's had a wonderful attitude. But
I also love how the judges and MasterChef treated that relationship. They acknowledged Sashi, but they didn't harp on it about it. And I think that
they let Ryan be his own person.
Exactly. It's kind of like, you're done with MasterChef. Who cares? You're here.
Now, my disappointment out of this, however, was I think they missed a trick, and I tweeted this out the other night. So we got the wrong former contestant's child in.
Oh.
It needed to be Nathan, because we could have got the flipped version of the infamous For Nathan dish with the parsnip and the tomato sauce. And he could have written one to his mum back. It could have been reversed. We could have got a flipped For Nathan.
You know what I would want to see? A roasted tomato with a parsnips puree.
Parsnip puree around the outside with mum heart.
Now, there are some references I don't get because I didn't see that season, but so I only know that reference from you guys.
From the Twitter. I have. It's one of the few I have saved on file, ready to go at the drop of a hat. That and a photo of the Herbs Dave Dobbins backing band, which every time someone mentions herbs, I tweet out. But, you know, random references, that's what I'm here for.
Yes.
But I just think, like, Ryan's food looked really good. He was allowed to be his own person.
Can you tell me a bit about Saatchi's season? Because I didn't see that. How did that stack up?
Season 10? Was season 10?
I never go by number.
They said it was, yeah.
I never go by number, but it's season 10, yeah. So
we're trying to keep things positive here. Saatchi was a strong contender throughout.
I'm going to be ultra positive here. It is the most lopsided MasterChef grand final in history.
Oh.
He had it won before dessert.
Oh, right.
It was that.
Who was he against?
It was that far gone. He was against Ben.
Wait, hang on. There's 11 billion Bens.
I know that's the problem. So he was against Ben Borscht. So he'd made a lot of fish.
And meat
and veg. Meat and veg and fish and meat and veg and fish. And that was Khan's season. Khan was third.
Great.
And that was also Huda and all that. On that season as well. And
essentially he got saved by Huda's cake pops versus his White Lamington,
which is a very infamous episode.
Cake pop v White Lamington. Yeah, that sounds like a scandal.
It was
scandalous.
That episode is on 10 Play. I highly recommend people go watch it. I rewatched it a couple of months ago in lockdown, and it doesn't age well. But anyway, outside of that, so that grand final, Saatchi had made amazing. He'd got 2 immunity pins during the competition at one point. He was that far ahead. And they tried to bring him back in the last couple of weeks, and they sort of unfairly, almost in some situations, got the pins off him. And then the grand final was so far gone by the time Saatchi won it that, like, again, before dessert, it was impossible for Ben to win. So, and like even Ben during the grand final was acknowledging, going, this is
a moot point.
This is done. But I'm going to just do what I can for dessert and make it look good.
He should have just sat down, cracked open a bottle of wine and just...
He should have taken Ben from this series' attitude, gone into the pantry and had something to eat.
Like, if you're an adult planning to go and audition for MasterChef next year, you've got to be sitting down watching Junior MasterChef and just getting the wisdom, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the kids say the darndest things. Well, they're also giving you great life advice here.
And do you know what I can't stop thinking about? That jar of Nutella. And did Ben get to, like, take that back to his room after?
I hope so.
Yes.
I loved that, the way they did that tonight. And again, my third get this reference of the evening was when they got Jock to put the blindfold on and put his hand into the strawberry jam. All I could think about was, again, from Get This, there was when Richard Marsland was hosting community television in Melbourne, Channel 31, and Ed Cavalier went on to the community television show he hosted and held out a bowl of custard. There's the card at the bottom you've got to get. And Marsland dug in with his hands and pulled the card out and he goes, "Read the card, Rich." And he opened it and he goes, "Sucked in custard hands." And that's all I could think about when Jock was diving into this jam.
Yeah.
Whereas I just wanted sucked in jam hands.
I just kept thinking of Joey from Friends digging into Monica's homemade jam.
But it was like, that challenge was fun.
Yes.
And it was beautifully presented. That was good looking food in jars.
It was, and the jars were quality.
That would be a cool like party game. Like, just when COVID's over and we can actually exchange a bit of, like,
contact.
Fluid. It won't matter if we're passing jars to each other. Oh, the heady days ahead.
The heady days of jar passing.
Wait to have a jar party. It's going to be so cool.
So I think that one of the things we picked up with the people who did end up cooking tonight in that challenge, some of that food, again, as I sort of mentioned before, because they're not, unlike the adults, they're not afraid to take a risk. Like, because they don't feel the risk. It's just, I want to cook something.
Like, look at
I was
sorry.
going to say Tiffany.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So I think you sort of spoke for a lot of people on Twitter at one point tonight, Vaya, in terms of, I really want dinner at Tiffany's.
Dinner at Tiffany's is a great night had by all. Like, she can serve she's having a jar party. She's looking after all her guests.
That's an hour. She just whips that up in an hour.
And just a little surprise soup when you least expect it.
Surprise!
Cherry soup.
She would
young
be,
woman.
in about 10 years' time, the best like flatmate to have if you're a student, because you'd be there hungry at home. You've just had a long day of lectures. You walk in and she's just like, I've got a bowl of soup for you.
Imagine her with the ramen challenge they did on the last series of Back to Win.
Yeah.
She'd be amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Her unflappable energy, I just want to bottle that, because so she was the one that had the melted panna cotta and came back strong, like came back fighting from that. And so in this elimination challenge, and we've already learned she's had some health issues in her past, and so she's struggled through that. And she goes, all right, well, I'm going to speak to my heritage. I'm going to do the Hungarian like gnocchi thing and the chicken gizzard stew, just a casual chicken gizzard stew of a
week. As you do.
I now want King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Oh, no. Is that the band?
Yes,
to come and like play at her restaurant, like when she's older, like while she's serving this soup.
But the idea is, you said, how often, and that was like Jock said tonight, first of all, how often do you get chicken gizzards?
Never. And then she's just casually passing her like the Hungarian dumplings through the grated thingy. Yeah. And then a few minutes left and I'll make a cherry soup.
I will say to her parents though, why aren't you feeding this child more oysters? Like, what's wrong with oysters?
Oh, here we go. So,
like, I was too, and being fed oysters Kilpatrick. Like, you've got to start young. Your love of oysters.
Well, some of us don't have lobster and oysters every week. Some of us are eating Nutella out of a jar and having a great time.
This is. We're not all philo. Okay.
Look, I'm not saying I was philo growing up. Like, oysters were a treat. They were like a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday meal.
Do you think that philo actually gets lobster 3 times a week?
I think they might mix it up and put scampi in.
Or much like the challenge tonight, do you think he just occasionally walks past like the seafood place and just reaches in and grabs a lobster and starts, because like he's like, this is a snack.
Like people have cheeky grapes.
He's not having the cheeky grapes.
He's just having the cheeky lobster.
I reckon he's got his own lobster boat. He just heads out on the water every week.
And Philo out on the waves, just setting his lobster traps.
Just the idea of the cheeky lobster as he walks past, it's like produces like a Bunsen burner out of his school bag and just starts cooking it up. What are you doing? Just lobster,
just a little claw for recess.
I'm just trying to melt the garlic butter over the top of it. It's not quite going at the moment, all right? I need better temperature control.
He's going to be that co-worker that's sitting there grilling as they're, on this entry.
Do you know what I keep thinking as well? So I keep watching this as like a parenting lesson show, because I've got a 4-month-old, and I just can't stop looking at these kids and going, what do I do to get a kid that's going to, number one, cook for me like this?
Yeah.
To just be so gracious and like a good sports person. And I wanted to take notes.
All right, Vaya, I think like how they indoctrinate gender via the stories and the objects around babies.
Yeah.
That you now start like replacing the mobile above their head with like spatulas and and
pomegranates.
And pomegranates.
Because as we found out last night, quite often, as some of these kids have pointed out, they meet their match with pomegranate.
Yes. Pop down to IKEA and replace all their toys with the stuffed toys shaped like vegetables.
And instead of a rusk stick, I'll hand over an asparagus spear.
Yes.
That's it. Now you're getting it. Now you've caught on.
Yeah.
That's how you learn to balance your flavours.
Put all their food in front of them in 1-inch cubes so they can start getting their palate.
Blindfold. Okay. All right, you want to eat your rice cereal? Well, you close your eyes and tell me what it smells like.
You don't get dinner until you can tell me what's in it. Right, go.
Something I raised actually this evening, speaking of what everything tastes like, is how are they finding 24 kids that aren't allergic to everything?
That is amazing. Yes. As a teacher, how you're managing to get all these kids in one spot and there's no food allergies going on.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm stunned.
Because they have had shellfish, they have had bees, they've had nuts.
they really have.
Like
they've had the gamut of, at the moment, somebody should be having an EpiPen.
Like there are primary school teachers watching this just in shock, I'm sure, going, we can't have those in a lunch box.
I'm in high schools, and I was having lunch yesterday, and the thing I had for lunch had a peanut sachet. And I had to sit there and think about that for about 5 minutes and go, am I going to be in the vicinity in the next 5-10 minutes of somebody that might require an EpiPen if I have lunch? And that was a genuine conversation I actually had in the staff room was, am I going to be near anyone in the next 10 minutes that might need an EpiPen? And it was like, probably not.
Like when Ben plunged his hand into the Nutella, that shouldn't feel dangerous.
Oh no, wasn't that Ryan that did the...
Ryan, of course.
Poor bloody Ben got cheese.
Oh.
Yeah, now let's talk about that, shall we?
That's disgusting.
Who knew that Ben would have a weakness and it would be cheese? And so many people on Twitter have this all wrong. They went, I was with you, Ben. I'm now against you. My mentality on that, it's more cheese for me.
The past 2 nights, I've been heavily championing Scouts Australia to just get on board. And much like, because seriously, these badges have got to come out of, lived experience. I mean, the kid's on bloody Masterchef, but now I'm thinking maybe one of the requirements in the badge is to cook some cheese in some way.
Maybe he's got a more refined palate because those blocks of like cheese and cabana cheese aren't really doing anyone any favours.
Maybe his reaction wasn't so much that it was cheese, but it's like
low quality.
What are you giving me? Is this like home brand?
Excuse me. Nobody went to a barrel.
Yeah,
I saw nobody using a screw to take out this sample.
And why is it in cube form? I prefer a wedge.
Yes, exactly. And excuse me, where is the pairing biscuit? I don't see a pairing cracker anywhere. At least a wafer.
Where's the blue veins of mold running through this?
I'm sorry, did you remove the wax?
Did you at least serve it at the correct temperature that goes with this cheese?
Produces a thermometer for the room and goes, this is not cheese temperature. And the way though as well, in Adult Masterchef, you often hear them complaining about things they don't necessarily like eating. As Jock pointed out tonight, these kids, when they don't like something, just go, I don't really like it, but it works for the dish. Like the coffee tonight and the tiramisu.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't like coffee. And then he's like, I was worried it was a bit heavy, but I know what is required of the flavour. Yeah. So I think I've got the coffee right.
Who made the tiramisu again? That was Salvo?
Yes, yeah. Salvo.
I wanted to know if they could put a little cheeky liqueur into their dishes.
That was like when they did the trifles. I was very intrigued by that one.
I'm presuming not.
No.
I don't think there's going to be just a cheeky bottle of Amaretto ready there with some, being able to splash it on. I do want to mention 2 kids. Now, there's one that I think is going to be one of those kind of like ninja types, like Dev. Like he is a solid cook, Dev. Like
that banquet he made on night 1 to get the gong.
Yeah. What did he make?
It was the banquet.
He produced the curry.
The curry and it was the full size banquet that he made.
Yeah.
Which was
the writer, was it?
Yeah.
And a couple of other
He made the writer, he made the curry, and it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. You're right. He's
one to watch, I think. And Etka, I'm so disappointed he's gone home because I think he's just such a gentle, thoughtful soul. And he's got all these he made phyllo, like he made that pastry to wrap. Like I know he kind of wandered away and got a bit distracted when his meat was cooking, but he's just got a lot of skills and a lot of heart and a lot of love for his food.
And that's a tough one to make. And harking back to they who will not be named, is I remember one of the judges in a previous season going, life's too short to make pastry. Like,
phyllo.
Yeah. And he's like my, when we make this in the family, it takes a long time and everyone appreciates it. And I'm like, and you chose to share this with judges in an elimination in 1 hour. Like that's a lot of awesomeness right there.
The thing I think I've noticed the most of all is, except for the bit where we got close to elimination tonight where everyone got panicked.
Yes.
I think everyone's just smiled the whole way through.
Yeah.
Right. It's just been something where everyone has smiled consistently through this. And you can feel it through the socials. You can feel everyone just being joyous and happy with what's going on in front of them. And I think, again, as you pointed out before, Vaya, so I think it's been something that everyone's desperately needed, is just this moment to sort of relax and smile and just enjoy things.
And remember what joy is.
Yeah, and these kids are enjoying themselves. and finding joy in food.
Mm-hmm. And they're reminding us, even just being on the show itself is fun. Like they like the game of it and meeting celebrities and running around and doing what they love all day and simple things like that. And it's a lot of what the big show did for us in early lockdown is it brought joy. Again, it reminded us, well, for me, I was a returned viewer. I was a lapsed viewer. And the refresh of the new judges and the reboot of the format brought me back. And the past contestants returning. And it's like the whole thing feels rejuvenated.
Yeah, it's felt far more joyous. Like on the opening night when you get the kids look up and go, oh my God, it's the M on top of the kitchen.
Yeah, and
yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah, and by the way, as much as I'm a fan of the Vespa, a delightful touch replacing the Vespa with a bicycle.
Oh, that is so sweet.
That's effort.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, it's good because the Vespa's out of the weather.
Yes.
And like we don't want the Vespa to rot.
Look, I am disappointed, Chris, you haven't put together a drinking game. I think we could do it with Milo or something.
So that's where before we finish up tonight, we are going to talk about that. So we've had some requests for the drinking game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not appropriate to do a proper drinking game, but there's been a couple of suggestions here.
It's more like a bingo.
So, well, I'm going to keep it sort of called the drinking game.
Yes.
But there's another couple of twists. So your option, I think, of Milo is a good one.
Yeah.
I had another option presented to us on Twitter of Tim Tams.
Yes.
And it becomes the dunking game.
Oh, that's very precious.
That's brilliant. Of course, Australia's national treasure, Mel Buttle, has once suggested that if you don't want to drink, cheesels.
Yes.
And that every time that something happens on the card, have a cheesel.
Well, look, I think we can still call it the dunking game because instead of like dunking it into a coffee or a tea, you can dunk it into Milo.
Exactly. So I think what we will do...
Or if you're a sad person, Ovaltine.
Yeah. Or if you're a sad celiac...
Sorry, celiac.
No name brand hot chocolate.
There you go. But I think we can do up a game. So that'll be for next week. I will do up a game, a positive game. It's not going to be one of the last ones.
There's nothing to snark
There's
about.
nothing to be snarky about. I know there are a couple of people I know who, well, first of all, they won't be listening to this. Sorry, Chester the chicken. But so there'll be a few people that won't be listening to this because they'll go, oh, you know, we don't like snark because you were nasty about Reynolds. And there's no Reynolds on this episode, on this series.
Oh.
It's lovely. It's wonderful.
What are they doing listening to podcasts if they're not okay with snark? How do they even find...
You'd be amazed is the answer to that.
It's like the ratio of podcasts. It's like 20% mystery, 10%, you know, like opinion and politics, and then 70% snark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people, by the way, in the last series, there were people who hate listened.
Good.
We had hate listeners. Because I dared to not even criticize, but not be overflowing with praise for a few things that Reynolds made.
Okay, yeah.
And because I did that, it became a hate listen for a few people. Oh. So I don't care because there's downloads.
Let's just get to Junior Masterchef.
But this is the point. Is the point. Is that
no, I find this very interesting.
there's no snark in Junior Masterchef.
No.
And for people who have listened to our Bake Off episodes, it's a lot closer to that.
Oh,
it's funny and it's fun and it's light. It's not nasty or snarky. Nasty or snarkiness has its place.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But just not in this show. And we don't need it at this point as well. We're almost we're in the tail end of 2020. There's a lot still to come in this year, people.
Yeah.
And there's another at least 3 decades worth of life
in the next month alone. There's a lot going on, people. So we're going to need this.
And we've got a Cub Scout making s'mores, presenting them as a campsite.
We've got Dawn from Babysitters. We've got the MasterChef Sitters Club. They're ready to say hello to our friends.
We've got Laura choosing a career in food eating.
Yes.
We've got Tiffany impersonating a panna cotta.
And Tiffany in 2020 being a child called Tiffany is already fabulous.
Oh, yes. Because now I'm like, I think we're alone now. Nothing. Anyway.
So, but how do you think I feel? Because, of course, my favourite at the moment is Vienna. So I'm singing Ultravox in my head.
Yes, my partner is doing that every night.
If she goes home,
yes,
it means nothing to me.
And we can also go Ruby, Ruby, Ruby.
Yeah, we can do Ruby. There's songs all over the place.
Yeah, you know, like Dev, 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 Dev. I'm just
and Laura. That's all I got.
Yes, that's what you need.
I couldn't do the tune.
No, that's what you need to do. So,
there's something I was going to say, and it's hilarious, and it's completely gone out of
What
my
I
head.
always-
So I'm just filling here.
what I always love is when you're like, it was hilarious.
It
Trust me on
was.
this.
It was hilarious.
I
If a tree falls in the woods.
I was going to be the funniest person
In
you'd ever
another
heard
dimension, when I pulled that line out, you know, our podcast soared. We had millions of, and we just went on to fame and glory.
Oh, well, that'll never happen now. And by the way, credit, of course, to Vaya as well for I was trying to come up with what to do instead of the montage of mediocrity.
Yes.
And I think you nailed it when we were trying to work out what we were going to do instead of that with the montage of merit.
Yeah.
So,
alliteration.
Alliteration wins the day every time.
Because you were going to call it the montage of amazement. And I think that was just pandering to those kids.
It's true.
You want them to earn it.
OTTing. It's just going OTT.
She's like,
merit.
no, it's a merit.
Yeah,
You
they
get
would pay that. They're like, all right, I wasn't my best cook. I love how they call it a cook as well. They know the lingo.
I just want to take a moment to reach out to the 3 kids who went home tonight and just say, you can move beyond this. You know, like some of us in our youth went on Vidiot.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I went on Vidiot.
Okay, I'll talk to you about that later.
Here we go.
I was almost a winner, or at least tied for first, when Scott McRae asked me the question and I just quickly buzzed at the end, and he's gone, what sport is Tom Carroll famous for? And in true Kristie fashion, my brain just froze. And I've just gone, golf? And he's a surfer. And I will never forget that. And it's very painful because it happened on national TV.
You've worked through this with our audience a few times.
Yeah, but
have you brought up that you didn't even get to do the Eden Gahar version?
Yeah, I got Scott McRae, not even Eden Gahar. And like I was on Romper Room and I got Miss Helena, so that's okay.
But the kids were in the kitchen and that was the problem.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I really do hope they get the actual Kenwood mixes and not what happened with certain like government funded studios who promised us certain like CDs and then we just got whatever was in the prize cupboard.
Oh, but they're getting these mixes from Harvey Norman. That's problematic.
That is problematic. Jerry Harvey's complaining at the moment they're not paying sales tax. Anyway, but no, I think like your thing with that in terms of the gifts, at least they gave you a gift from the prize cabinet. If you went on Now You See It, you got a computer for your whole school.
The biggest rip-off of them all.
That's the whole, like you went on that show and got nothing.
And at least
you dealt with a robot.
And it was my introduction to Red Dwarf.
It was.
If it wasn't for Vidiot and me being introduced, because I got a free Red Dwarf like video or something in a book, if I hadn't got that and read it and got into it, I don't think I'd be with Chris today.
Oh my God.
Probably wouldn't be. So, sliding doors.
Oh my gosh. I'm now seeing me winning Vidiot and living a completely different life.
Living a lie. So this has been absolutely spectacular. Thank you very much, Vaya, for coming on.
I can't believe that was 3 episodes. I can't believe you trusted me to go over 3 whole episodes.
I can't believe we trusted us to go over 3 whole episodes. No, look, the thing is that we don't need to go through detailed format points for this because this is just a celebration.
Yeah.
And like the general conversation about these kids and the general conversation about food, I think, is more than enough. And like, to be blunt, it doesn't really matter who won and lost. I mean, it does to Twitter. If Bennett lost, there would have been like buildings burning.
Yes.
But I think
we were ready to rage quit.
I saw Twitter lining up to Channel 10 going, no. But I think, look, again, I think it was a wonderful 3 nights. And it's been a delight to get to go over the three nights worth with you.
And they, win or lose, they provide great telly. And television is the ultimate winner.
100%.
Yes. Australian television needs this win.
It really needs. Channel 10 desperately needs it. Channel 10 is crying for this win right now.
Yes.
So I'll take it.
If bees can be happy to give it their honey,
yep.
But, to be on TV, these kids have, won the jackpot.
Thank you very much, Vaya. Feel free, anything else you need to plug before we finish up, of course.
Thanks for having me. Oh, well, come and find me at Neighbours, and I want you guys. Firstly, you guys need to come on to Neighbours. We watch Neighbours, the soap opera. It's still on television. Channel 10 Peach.
It's not on normal Channel 10 anymore. It's on Peach, the one you don't know of.
Yes. Or Channel 5 in the UK, or some special links on the internet, other ways. But it's a grand old time. We do to Neighbours what you guys do to cooking shows.
Great.
Fantastic.
Now I have to ask, Harold still on Neighbours?
Look, he's in Queensland helping Sky Mangle look after her kids.
Oh my gosh. They've recognised Sky Mangle?
Yeah, she came back recently for the 35th anniversary and married her crush, Lana. Like, they fell in love. They found each other and fell in love later in life.
Oh my God, I'm so happy.
Yes.
That was Joe and Daphne's daughter, isn't it?
Yeah, Kerry's
Kerry,
daughter.
that's it.
Yeah.
Kerry and Joe's daughter.
And so now Harold lives with her in Queensland and helps her look after the kids.
Oh, Mrs. Mangle's spirit's just looking down from heaven, so happy.
Yeah. And actually, playing Jane Superbrain's back. Annie Jones has joined the cast at the minute.
Oh
wow.
my God.
Yeah. And she and Carl Kennedy have been taken to hoarding bargain basement stockpiled products. They're not saying it's for COVID, but
they're just gathering them for the fun of it.
Just have a
little nod. They're like, we just need 2 crates of no-name brand 2-minute noodles, and that's fine.
For the hell of it. Why not? See, my only real connection to Neighbours at the moment is I know, of course, that Alan Kennedy, Carl Fletcher, is a massive Liverpool fan, and that's my only connection. That's my only connection, is that he's a huge Liverpool fan. So I see him pop up on social media all the time celebrating Liverpool wins.
Well, actually, one of my very first episodes of my podcast was about like a cooking competition that they had at the Waterhole, and Carl Kennedy entered his coconut cream pie.
Oh.
He made a trifle, and Susan made a coconut cream pie, and obviously one of those desserts ended up on the floor.
I'm surprised. I'm shocked.
Did you know a pickup line that was thrown at me in the 90s when I was at a ice skating rink when I was about 15? This guy goes, "You look like Debbie from Neighbours," and
okay, yep.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'll take that as possibly a compliment because she wasn't the nicest chick on TV. I just took it.
There's a lid for every pot.
Exactly. I'm kind of like, don't have time for you. I've got skating to do.
Thank you very much, Vaya, for coming on. It's been an absolute delight.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad I discovered your show this year.
We're really happy because you've been really good on the tweeting too, and it's been a lot of fun to have you as part of the roll call as well. Mm-hmm. So until next Tuesday night, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we'll catch you all later.
Bye.
Bye.